Okay, so good morning, everyone. Uh, Welcome to the first session of this week for the Coimbra Sustainability Summit. So this will be our third plenary session. Yes, last week we had a very interesting um, panel discussions and sessions happening throughout the week, and this will be our second and final week of the Coimbra Sustainability Summit. So I will be the moderator for this panel that is dedicated to technology and investors. So I'm João Quintas. I'm a collaborator for Instituto Pedro Nunes. Um, and the Coimbra Sustainability Summit, I need to change slides. Okay. So why we are preparing or we are having this summit? So the Coimbra Sustainability Summit is organized as an event that is looking into in a 10-year perspective on how the technology and agents of innovation could be promoting or supporting the development of the sustainable development goals and achieve the Green Deal. And so we are quite interested in understanding what is the role of all the players and stakeholders of the innovation ecosystem in inspiring technology to create value. So last week we were looking for one perspective of to achieve this was which was based on the needs coming from the stakeholders that are the main end users and payers from the technology. And this week we want to look at the providers and the technology developers of these technologies. So together we are looking into gathering all the ecosystem that is involved in achieving these goals. So from inspire leaders to research and companies to investors and the European Commission. So basically, we defined 3 goals for this Coimbra Sustainability Summit. So basically, inspiring innovative approaches to emerge, foster new partnerships between the stakeholders involved in the ecosystem, and find ways to deliver better value for society. In this case, the Coimbra Sustainability Summit is being supported by 4 European projects. I'm with Diatomic. We have other collaborators here at the CSS that belongs to other 3 projects, so Block IS, Enrich, and MSEC, being the main responsible, the Diatomic one. And yeah, let's look at the agenda for the previous and next panels. So we are starting this second week of the CSS, which will be a panel devoted to technology and investors. And as I mentioned before, then in the first week we had 2 panels that were basically starting to by understanding what are the sustainable development goals and the Green Deal in terms of policy and the mission and the vision for that. And then we had a panel dedicated to needs and how the payers and the end users will see for the upcoming years the role of technology and innovators in tackling these transformation that we are undertaking currently. And we, to close the previous week, we had sectoral sessions where specific topics were addressed in terms of health, agri-food, manufacturing, and sustainable cities. And for this week, we will follow a similar structure, but based on the or focused on the way technology is developed and how innovation is foreseen for the next upcoming years. Um, so basically, as an introduction for this session, so we will focus on the advanced technologies that are supported by key enabling technologies, which are understood by the European Commission and the stakeholders across the world in general as an enormous potential for promoting growth, specifically or especially in Europe. That's we are most interested in. So here we include all the most trendy technologies that goes from artificial intelligence, blockchain, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, and others, which offer a wide range of opportunities to enable European industry to expand and emerge as a leadership worldwide. So yes, we see that today the fusion of these technologies is opening a lot of possibilities, and it's creating a deeper integration between the physical and digital worlds. So it's starting to be a little bit difficult to understand what is hardware and what is software. They are quite intertwined nowadays, and this is there is a trend to for this to even increase in the next years. So this will open opportunities. So we have the opportunity to take this into our hands and to have new businesses models and processes that can leverage on these technologies. We can look into how these technologies can support or underpin the shift to a greener economy. And of course, they are these technologies will be a determinant. They will play a key role for the European industrial policy and to understand how we can put there the mechanisms for leveraging the development of these technologies and seize the opportunities that are open for them. But of course, with opportunities, there are also challenges. So currently, and we are living a very particular, sad but interesting period of our lives with the current pandemic. We assisted an unprecedented speed of digital transformation. So we had to adapt very fast, and we saw in the last couple of months deep change and shift towards the digital in a way that could be people looked for technology to keep running their businesses in the more traditional sectors. But yeah, we easily understood there were challenges on doing this. So one was basically that the businesses were not taking full advantage of this technology, so they are now more aware of it. But this was a very fast transformation, so we cannot assume that this process is complete, and there are still open challenges in this regard to be tackled. So the state of the uptake of these advanced technologies by industry is very different across sectors. So we have very digitized sectors in comparison to others that are less digitized, and they were now forced to adopt these technologies, but maybe in a very immature way yet. And we see large disparities between the businesses that are run by large companies and small and medium-sized enterprises, which puts the industrial ecosystem also with big asymmetries in terms of cooperations toward developing and adopting these technologies. So the goal of this panel will be we invited speakers that will address these topics. So we were focusing on having presentations around these four advanced technologies that are artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain and cybersecurity. And we will see how they are developing these solutions based on these technologies and adopting these technologies to grow their businesses, how they are addressing the sustainable development goals while developing these technologies, and what they consider to be opportunities for investment in these key enabling technologies. So this will not be only passive webinars. So we invite the audience to interact with us. And for these, throughout this session, we will have opportunity to put some questions to the audience, and we will expect some answers from your side, so we can also discuss around these answers. So please go to this Pool Everywhere website, enter the word Coimbra, and participate and enjoy. So the next slide will have a teaser question where you can test the system and see how this will look like. And throughout the speakers' presentations, we will have some questions that will allow you to have some opportunity to interact with us. So the first question is, where are you in the innovation ecosystem? So yes, this is very interesting. So we have now the first responders. It seems that we have a very broad audience, and it's more or less balanced so far. So it seems that university and research centers are the most prevalent here, but we have also startups and industry involved, as well as healthcare providers, policymakers we don't have. We have others, but yes, you see that we have a quite balanced audience, which is good. So I will thank you for participating in this one. So you are now familiar with how the system works. And please stay tuned in this website for the Pool Everywhere, because the questions will change along with the presentations, and you will be given the opportunity to contribute to the discussion as well. So the speakers for today will be representing a large company from manufacturing in robotics, that is Comau. Today we had the notice that Maurizio Cremonini, that was planned to be here, could not attend, but his colleague Giuseppe Costadile is here representing Comau. So he will take the presentation, and they will present the perspective of the digitalization of the manufacturing industry. Then we have Jeroen Perquin, that is with B2Smart, and he will address the blockchain technology and how this opens opportunities for business. And then the third speaker is Darren van der Merwe, that is a senior manager at Accenture, and he will present with the vision for digital technologies, AI, and the trends in this innovation. So without further ado, we will start with the first speaker, if I can change the slide. Okay, yes. So I give the floor to Giuseppe Costadile, who is responsible for the branding and communication at Comau, and he will provide us their perspective on digital transformation in manufacturing. Yes, please, Giuseppe, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Joao, for your introduction, and thank you for the invitation to join this very interesting panel. Once again, I'm here on behalf of Maurizio Cormanini, and I've been working in Comau as a global brand and communication manager. I will try to provide you some feedback about the goals of this roundtable, and I hope that they will be useful for you all. So let's start with our the presentation focused on digital transformation in manufacturing. Before to go through the slide, let me just say that the presentation will be structured in two parts. First one is related to digital market trends and overview, and then we will move to the Comau approach in the second part. Let me just anticipate that our let me say mission in manufacturing as well as in digital is to deploy flexible, fully connected, scalable and sustainable systems to create an environment where a human and machine can collaborate, supported by intelligent manufacturing system. This is what we call a factory of the future, with something let me say original, with a vision which is by Comau, and it is expressed by the word humanufacturing, which is a crisis between human and manufacturing. Okay, let's go to the presentation. I'm trying to move the arrows, but it looks like I cannot do it. Sorry. This is a message for the control room. I try to move the charts, but it looks like impossible to do it.
Hi, it's saying that waiting for you to control your screen. You should have a pop-up or something like that. Yeah, you are now controlling it. Yeah.
Okay, let me again, but okay. Sorry for the audience for the inconvenience. Okay, this is the first chart actually. Let me start with something like a statement, of course, from our standpoint. It is based on our concrete experience, based on business meetings and also some studies that we have developing with some partners. And I will tell you some further details about that. Digital business is maturing. If you can see the graphics on this chart, you can see that the distribution of enterprises' digital maturity is moving toward a very positive part of this graphic. So we can say that more of the 50% of the companies, not depending of the size, so which means small, big ones, are building the digital foundation. They overpassed the setting and the digital ambition, which in our vision was the first step, the first stage, and they are moving toward scaling digital business. So first message is that our standpoint digital business is finally maturing, both for small and medium size and also for big enterprises. Second chart is digital market overview about discrete and process automation industries, and we are talking about billions euros. And as you can see from the graphics, again, digital both in discrete automation and in process automation. Discrete, let me just clarify, I'm sure that you know it, but let me clarify, discrete is related to production of machines, products, let me say pieces, and process is more related to, of course, process flows like oil and gas and that kind of industry. So in both cases, we can see a growth expected also for the next years. And with regard to the breakdown, in this case, focusing on discrete industries, we can see that the growth is related to each sector, but automotive and transportation will experience the highest growth during the forecast period. Anyway, you can see that also other traditional fields are experiencing the same growth, led by automation and transportation. With regard to digital market trends, let me highlight that, as you can see in the bottom part of the next chart that I'm showing to you, software, platform, and application provider are the part which is growing much more than respect the other, where we register a stable growth. Despite of this, software, platform, and application provider are experiencing a major growth, always based on some analysis, in this case from McKinsey, that we have considered for our experience. Related to different market trends and especially use cases, Comau is focused in three key areas that you can see in this chart in the upper part. So remote monitoring, predictive maintenance, and overall equipment effectiveness optimization. So first part is about the remote control monitoring of the product and process related to the production. Predictive maintenance, of course, is related to the maintenance you can do from remote to prevent any kind of issue. And the third part is related to the overall process. Those charts were composed before the outbreak, but anyway, it is intuitive that these use cases are much more interesting in starting with this new normal phase, let me say, with the restart and the new normal phase that we are going to exploit. What is the digital transformation according to our standpoint? The world of manufacturing is changing, and we are almost sure about this statement because Comau was founded in 1973, so we have more than 45 years of experience in the manufacturing field. We are located in each region, from EMEA to APAC, of course, including North America and Latin America. And we can say that our experience in the manufacturing fields allow us to better understand the need of the customer also in the digital scenario. Market drivers are also changing, and we can see that thanks to this transformation, it is changing the production requirements, and we are moving always towards a personalized production. So if we start considering what was the mass production, now we're arriving to another step, which is something like a craft production personalized. As I said before, processes must be increasingly reconfigurable, flexible, scalable, reactive, and of course sustainable, which is one of the keywords of this panel. And from our standpoint, digitalization is the key enabler to allow a company moving from the traditional manufacturing experience to the new scenario. In the right part of the charts, you can see some benefits. Again, they are based on our experience and some of the most accredited studies. So as you can see, we have registered some very positive key indicators related to some different areas like productivity increase, reduction in machining downtime, reduction in time to market, and many other areas. Why Comau? Comau is, let me say, I don't know if well known, but we are a historical component provider for the automotive world. Comau basically is a part of the Fiat Chrysler Automobiles group. And we know very well that world, but we also work in many other general industries. We have a strong manufacturing background because we understand automation challenges, starting from the one that probably is the most challenging sector, which is again automotive. But we experience many projects, from small ones to big ones in many other industries. We have both process and product management capabilities. With regard to product management, let me just add that Comau, since its foundation, an academy, and one of the pillars of the academy is related to project management competencies. And we provide this kind of competencies both internally, so to the people who are employed by the company, but also external with many learning programs. And we have manufacturing background, process and product management background, but also software and machine experience. What is important to say is that our experience, let me say, quite unique directly in the plant of our customer, allows us to have a very customer-centered approach and agile project management, because we use to provide to our customer very fast and effective change of plans, and to react very quickly to each kind of change that we can experience in many projects, starting from the big ones like the production of an entire assembly plants for automotive lines. I briefly introduced Comau. With this chart, again, I would like to show you our global presence in 14 countries with production, with some production plants, and many other commercial locations. With the red dots, you can see also our digital hubs, which are developed in each regions, and specifically in Italy, in Detroit, in the US, and then Brazil, India, and Shanghai in China. I told you before why to choose Comau, but let me provide some other details. Comau is partner both for operational technology and information technology. We have an organization regarding the digital initiative platform, which is our specific platform for the digital processes. There's a global team, but also some digital regional teams located, of course, in the different regions. What we try to do is to put together operational technology and information technology experience, and we believe that this approach adds value for the customer needs. And what is important to say is that we have, from our standpoint, of course, is that we have developed our IoT platform, which is named InGrid, and which is a modular platform trying to reach the aim I told you before, so partner from OT and IT integration. What's our market approach? Probably you can see some is of these, let me say, approaches also typical from your experience. But again, what we want to say is that is the entire picture, which is very characteristic from Comau, together with the experience. Anyway, what we propose to the customer is not something like a product list, but we start with a digital assessment related to the specific customer. So the aim, of course, is to identify digital proposal solution. Then we try to provide a proof of concept, and we do it with the definition of different building blocks. Of course, this is a very concrete approach, and it is oriented to verify results for customers and the added value for customers step by step. If things go well, we try to develop a pilot, and of course this is there's the last step that it is named expansion, which is the scale up of the pilot. So basically the first step is the digital assessment, second one is the proof of concept, then we move toward pilot and the scale up. With regard to our IoT architecture overview, in this, let's focus on the bottom part of the charts I'm showing to you. We at the moment start from technologies which are already installed in our customer plants. So we leverage on machinery data, and thanks to our InGrid modular platform, so our product solution, we are trying to move also from to cloud and to new, let me say, complex and completed technologies, and of course through the use of different devices. Regarding to artificial intelligence, which is one of the key points of this round table, let me say that we are focusing on, and we are already doing with many customers all around the world, on big data analytics, thanks to machine learning, machine to machining, of course, the predictive maintenance, process simulation, and some simulation of trajectories for the robots, of course. And another area which is absolutely relevant for us and which is already ongoing is the image recognition. We have developed something like a software house newly created in the south of Italy, and we presented it beginning of this year, so a few months ago, and it is developed on and it is focused on image recognition, so product process quality inspection, random beam picking, for example, an application that we used to run in our customer plants, including automotive ones, is a capability thanks to our vision system to the robots to identify the right pieces that need specifically in a certain moment of the production process, and to pick up them from, for example, a bin where you can find many different objects. I have just another comment about the blockchain in manufacturing. It is something that we are also experiencing, and we are moving we are approaching this technology with regard to the full process of the product life, from the materials provenance to the engineering and design phase, and of course to the next step. So our aim is to use the blockchain technology for the full product process. This is the last chart from by my side. It was a very quick overview, both from of digital marketing overview and from our approach, and I hope that I've provided you with some useful feedback and suggestions.
Thank you, Giuseppe, for this very interesting presentation, and that allows us to have a glimpse of how these technologies are being applied in manufacturing. To the audience, if you have some questions to Giuseppe, please use the question and answer section that you have available in your Zoom interface. So we will address your questions after all speakers have their presentation, so in the panel discussion. So the next speaker is Jeroen Perkin. So Jeroen is a finance director with international experience in energy business, engineering and consultancy. So he's the co-founder and CFO at To Be Smart. And yes, please, Jeroen, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Joao. And thank you very much. I'm very pleased to be part of this tech panel, and thank you very much for the invite. Today I want to talk about why it is important that we work less and achieve more, and how technology will help us doing that. And I will talk about that in the context of the Sustainability Development Goals and the role of new technologies like blockchain and smart contracts. Let me try to control the screen. All right. Yes, it's working. All right. Joe said already in the introduction, I do have a finance business economics background, although I work in technology now. And I want to start straight away with the first poll and ask you, what are we looking at when we're looking at this chart? And I give you three options. Yeah, are we looking at unemployment rates, or are these the economic growth rates, or are we looking at the productivity growth rates? And I already see the choices coming through. Pretty good. And by the way, this is the only poll in my short presentation, so please take your chances. And we're moving into the right direction. So indeed, most people have saw this correctly. We're actually looking, thank you very much for the poll. And now see how we can move on. All right. Okay, sorry, technology. Well, that's indeed a correct answer. And I was actually asking you, because it's a chart, it doesn't get a lot of attention typically in, let's say, politics, etc. But what we're looking at is the labor productivity growth in a number of leading economies since the 1960s. And what you can see is a pretty clear trend, right? It's a downward trend, and it's trending pretty close to zero now. And you can wonder, is this a problem? Well, in itself, it's not a problem. What this basically means is that the amount of labor that we require to produce the same amount of goods and services is only decreasing, or you could say it's improving with about 1 or 2% a year. And that's not an awful lot now. And it's much lower than we have seen in over quite a long time. But again, is this a problem? And if so, why would this be a problem? Well, actually it is, because what happens is that the productivity growth is directly related to welfare growth. And you can only have sustained increase in welfare if you have that supported by a growth in productivity. And the costs of our welfare, like safety, health, and environment, and education, are increasing, and they're increasing quicker than productivity. And what you see happening in societies is that the gap is funded with government debt and working longer hours with later pensions, etc. And in a way, this is not a sustainable model. Now the question is, what is causing this low productivity growth? And how come that all the computerization and the digitalization since the 70s and 80s, this has not yet led to an increase or a significant increase in productivity? And if you're very cynical, you could even use this chart to demonstrate how since the introduction of the computers in that area, the productivity has actually only gone down. Well, we haven't figured this out completely yet, despite many studies and research. And it's certainly a combination of factors. What you can see in this picture is almost certainly one of them. And it's basically an amount of management and bureaucracy that we see in organizations, and the people that are supporting basically the primary process, often referred to as overheads. So again, what could be behind this? Well, this has to do with the way we do business with each other in modern society. And let me try to explain it very briefly and very quickly. Now, to do a business transaction, you need to have trust in the transaction that you do with the other party, right? We have organized trust in various ways in our society. Like money is a form of trust, laws is a form of trust. Trusted because if people do not, if they break the transaction, you can actually get your rights. Bookkeeping is a form of trust. Trades are a form of trust, etc. And what we've done in modern times, we basically, where we've a very global business, we started to organize trust and sort of build whole industries around it. And all these activities, they need coordination, and we're not always very good at that. And what you see as a result, that we see a lot of friction, organizational friction between organizations and within organization, and it's become quite substantial. And we do estimate that probably more than 50% of us is working in this type of trust industries or uncertainty reduction industries. But there's actually another fascinating thing happening, and that is that governments generally very much support innovation, but they also want full employment for the citizens, right? And many forms of innovation, of course, leads to cost reductions or less labor. That's quite often the objective. So innovation and securing jobs are at a certain level conflicting objectives. And full employment is quite often seen by politicians as the more important objective. So what this means is that if you want to innovate successfully, you need to think about what you do with the time that you save with that innovation. What do you do? We call that the surplus time, the time that you save. What do you do with that? And let's have a look how that has evolved over time, how we dealt with that surplus time. And then we need to go back a little bit in time to see the bigger picture, right? A long time ago, everybody was a farmer, almost everybody was a farmer, but then we increased the productivity in our farms quite quickly due to mechanization. And a 5% productivity growth was easily achieved in that time. The people were basically no longer needed in farms, so they could start working in the factories. That's fair too. And that, of course, led to an increase in welfare because we needed less time to produce our food. And at the moment, we only have about 3% left working, of our people working in farms and taking care of our food. And then we saw productivity growth in the factories. We saw that due to the assembly line and other innovations, and the people that were out of jobs as a result of that, they could move into the offices, into service industries, and a lot also to what I earlier described as the uncertainty reduction industry. That's like lawyers, bookkeepers, marketeers, etc. And at the moment, we probably have about 70% of people working in the offices. And of course, also this led to an increase in welfare because now we also needed less time to produce many of our goods. And we had time left to do other things, and we also got more free time. Now, the current challenge, as the previous chart showed, is that we now need to improve the productivity in our offices, because this would free up time to work on what we believe is the fourth sphere, and that is the sphere of the human attention. This is where we get time to work on topics like healthcare, safety, education, and sustainability. And this is where we make the link with the Sustainable Development Goals. These are also areas where we currently have a shortage in many societies. So the key message that I want to bring across here is that we need to focus on improving our productivity to free up time to spend where we now have shortages like healthcare, education, taking care of the environment, etc. But how can we do that? And then the question is it possible for organizations to reduce these friction costs? Well, basically, we believe we can do it. And we believe that we can achieve a significant improvement of productivity in offices, just like we did that for the factories, where we quite easily, with the invention of the assembly line and other things, a 70% improvement of productivity was achieved in this example at the time with the production of the tea fort. And the concept that we're developing for that in the digital sphere is what we call the digital assembly line. Now, what it basically is or will become, that is based on blockchain that creates rich data, and where data flows from organization to organization using data logistics, and that does not require the intervention of people. It's basically servers between organizations asking data questions to each other in a fully automated way. Goes a little bit far to fully explain this now, but very soon there will be a book about this topic from one of our founders, Paul Bessems, the founder of Economics, explaining more in detail how this concept actually works. Now I want to make the link to what we do as the company To Be Smart, how we implement this thinking in practice. We are partners, so the company To Be Smart are partners of Economics. That means that what I just explained very, very briefly, that's basically the purpose of Economics, to organize a broader and more sustainable prosperity. And that's the purpose that we share at the very high level. More specific, so Economics is a network of partners. We have about 250 individuals as members in the Netherlands. And our focus is on the design, the design, development, and deployment of organizational technologies such as blockchain. And in order, we want to reduce organizational friction and create surplus time for a better and more sustainable world. And the way we do this in projects in close cooperation with governments, a lot with education, and a lot with businesses. Now, to make it a bit more specific, we as To Be Smart, we have the vision that in the next 10 years, or we share the vision that over the next 10 years, half of all the business agreements, the business contracts, are executed by using smart contracts on the blockchain. And our mission, our role in that, is that we want to accelerate as much as we can that adoption of smart contracts into the organization. This is because we see that the biggest barrier to adoption of blockchain and smart contracts, we believe, is not so much the technology itself, but it's the awareness and the understanding of how this young technology can best be applied. So how do we do it? We basically do two things. We design and build interactive training modules. And we do that, these training modules work in combination with the IoT sensors. The second thing we do is that we design and build smart contracts to be used in combination with data from IoT sensors. So we support organizations in understanding and applying the concept of smart contracts and blockchain in combination specifically with IoT sensors, data from IoT sensors. And what we've done, we worked out a real life use case of a temperature monitored transport and how possible damage during the transport can be settled according to pre-agreed conditions whereby we use the smart contracts. And then we've built interactive workshop simulation of this process, and we use an actual working blockchain application with smart contracts. So people really experience how you can improve a business process with IoT and with smart contracts. And basically what we do there is that we demonstrate and we let people experience how organization can make steps towards that digital assembly line that I mentioned earlier, which is basically a fully automated measuring and sharing of performance data and settling as per pre-agreed conditions. And what we do, we use the latest IoT sensors, blockchain, and smart contract technologies to actually achieve that. Now, the workshop simulations are very suitable for educational purposes, used at universities and also for professional trainings. And they're also a starting point for a pilot project in logistics and condition transport. And we also customize these simulations at the moment, for instance, in the business of facility management, where they also need to manage service level agreements. To sum up, what I've tried to explain to you is to give a bit of a broader context to our view on blockchain and smart contracts, and how we are aiming to have these technologies contribute directly and indirectly to the objectives of the Sustainable Development Goals. Now, the latest initiative of Weeconomics is to get to a 20-hour working week. Now, this may sound impossible or unrealistic to some of you, but we believe it can be done, and at least it sets a clear direction that we want to go to. So our message is, work smarter, work less, spend your time on other more useful things, and thereby achieve more. And that's what we strive for with our foundation. My final message, I think, is that the challenge that we're facing is, we believe, is not so much the technology in itself. I mean, the technologies that we are talking about today are widely available to help us achieve, for example, the Sustainable Development Goals. We think it's the challenge is the awareness, the challenge is the adoption, and how we apply the technology to become truly more productive. I very much look forward to your questions. Thank you for your attention. Or you can reach me at any of the communication methods that are shown here if you've got any question. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Jeroen. Very interesting view on how to blockchain and smart contracts and IoT can be used in increasing productivity. So our next speaker is Derek van der Merwe. He's a senior manager at Accenture, so he's an experienced architect with a demonstrated history of working in the complex solutions in information technology and services, applied to healthcare, utilities, mining, public services, and banking industries. So welcome, Derek, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Joe. Let's see if I've got control of the screen. Looks like it. So thank you for joining me this morning, everyone. So I'm going to go through this morning through the tech vision for 2020 from Accenture. And Accenture is a leading international strategy consulting and technology company. Let's go through the slides. So as you can see, the technology vision is released on a yearly basis. Started off in about 2013 with a focus on digital businesses, moving to being a digital disruptor and then stretching your boundaries outwards. And then in 2019, looking at the post-digital era, and in 2020, asking what is the next question. So it has evolved over the years. It involves essentially a global survey of business and IT executives to determine the technology strategies and priority of investments, and also includes a consumer survey to understand the role of technology in people's lives. So the basic question that was asked for 2020 is what happens when people's expectations for technology conflicts with the business models that deliver it? Essentially, people are changing, and organizations and the way that they deliver their technologies to their customers should also change. The role of technology in the customer's life is changing, and the relationship towards it is also changing. So technology plays a starring role in people's lives today. They value their technology. They take it very personally, and they expect so much more from it going forwards. A basic indicator like screen time is almost obsolete. Screen time is measured globally and increases on a yearly basis, but there's also active initiatives to reduce screen times from customers. So the connection between people and technology is meeting resistance. Not because the technology is regarded as less valuable, but because the business models from enterprises that bring these technologies to market are sometimes in conflict with what customers would look to the technology from. New business models from enterprises must be rooted in collaboration. New models must invite people to co-create that future of technology. So in the media, you might have read some articles around the tech lash or the tech backlash. This fails to take into account the role that technology is playing in everyone's lives today, and the fact that it is ever increasing and is ever more valuable. So Accenture has looked at this as a tech clash, where the old business models to deliver technology to people are incompatible with the values and expectations from people. So the fundamental question in looking at post-digital people is essentially, can your enterprise survive the tech clash? Can your business model change to be more accountable and take on your role in across society? The challenge is waiting to be solved, and people still love their technology. So in this slide, you can see at the moment the 5 trends that were listed as part of the Tech Vision 2020 from Accenture. Starting from the left, you can see the I and experience, the AI and me, the dilemma of smart things, the robots in the wild, and innovation DNA. We're going to go into a few questions where you can rate from 1 to 5 in what direction your company is heading, your organization is heading in moving towards the AI in experience, where it's a co-collaboration in creating the overall experience for the customer. AI and me, where your businesses are using AI to change the way that you are working and what you are doing, to look at the dilemma of smart things, to overcome the beta burden, robots in the wild, where the boundaries of the business is expanding and robots are exiting the boundaries of your business and going into the external world, and innovation DNA, to have a look at how you adapt and to this new and exciting time that we're heading in. Okay, first question. See if it's updating. Okay, you can see responses coming in. So is your organization redesigning digital experiences with new models to turn passive audiences into active participants? So a true collaboration between your business and your customer. We give it a few more seconds. Okay, looks like it's a strongly agree and agree. Okay, I'll go on to the next question. Give it 5 more seconds. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This question is aligned to your new approach to AI and me. So looking at bringing out the full power of people, push into a new frontier to co-create between people and machines. Okay, fairly good spread between the answers there. Give it another 5 to 10 seconds. Interesting mixture of agree and disagree. Okay, next question. We'll look at the dilemma of smart things, where products that are updatable are forever in a state of forever beta, with future updates being pushed to customers to update their products. So looking at transforming these pain points into an opportunity to create long-lasting relationships with your customer. So would you agree or disagree that you find yourself in a position where products are forever in beta and it might be challenging to maintain the relationship with the client further into the future? Okay, it's like most participants agree they are addressing the favor beta or neutral. Give it 5 seconds. Okay, second last question relating to robots in the wild. So your organization is building new models of interaction where robots are moving beyond the walls of your enterprise. Looks like an interesting combination of answers there. Okay, give it another 5 seconds. Okay, it looks like it's agree. Okay, so thank you to everyone's inputs there. Oops, one last one, innovation DNA. So is your organization tapping into the unprecedented scale of disruptive technologies and taking advantage of building the capabilities and ecosystems to deliver in this new and exciting time? Okay, see that most participants agree. Okay, thank you very much for your responses there. I think it was very informative. Let's have a look at the next slide. So I'll be running through a short description of each of the 5 trends, and please feel free to have a look at the full PDF document and supporting materials on the site. You'll find the hashtag below and the URL for the website in the bottom left corner there. Essentially, when we look at the I in experiences, businesses have to look at their digital experience and turning that passive relationship with customers into a true collaboration with their customer. So businesses are using analytics, AI, and machine learning to gather information about their customers, and then pushing a customer experience back to the customer based on those analytics and results. And what we see is that the demand is actually shifting there, that customers are actually asking to be part of that process, to have a say and the experience that they have. Okay, they want to have a full experience in which they have some ownership and some accountability in that, and they want to own that relationship with the organization. So they want to essentially partner with the business to create that experience and have some enable customer and agency, as Accenture states it. And a customer agency is essentially an action, intervention, a support, or assistance. So the demand is definitely shifting there. So this means that from a business perspective, that you have to share some of the control and some of the power with your customer in that relationship to enable them to bring a rich customer experience. Okay. From cooperative experiences, you have to have relevant choices that inform their experiences and dynamic and responsive collaborations with business. Okay, and this will transform in the end your relationships with your customers. When we look at the second trend with AI and me, so up to now, AI has very much been focused on how businesses do their work and not as much on what they actually do. And going forward, a lot of the leaders that we interviewed felt that that would impact what businesses do going forward, and that the full power of people are not being used to its fullest potential. To do that, the communication has to be improved between machines and people. And that is very possible with the improvements that we've seen recently in natural language processing, in explainable AIs and extended reality. You have to complete the loop back between the person and the AI. So to understand how the AI is actually thinking, to understand how they get to their results, and to communicate and to provide context of what the person is actually experiencing back to the AI to improve the results and improve your actual results to customers. So having explainable AI is letting humans demystify the output of previously black box AI systems. So AI can reinvent the business, cannot reinvent the business on its own. It has to work with the people of your organization, where the people steward, direct, and refine the AI. The third topic that we look at is robots in the wild. It's quite an interesting topic in that, again, up to now, if we look at the applied robotics in enterprises, it has very much been focused on boundaries that are set by the enterprise, inside the enterprise, or within the enterprise and their workforce, and with the distinct customers that have been identified up to now. If we look at it going forwards, where robots will be playing a role, would be outside of the boundary walls of the organization, interacting with people that might not be your clients, and all the while collecting data and analyzing situations and reacting to new situations. This needs essentially a new interaction model from organizations. They need to realize that they're going to interact physically with the external world, and they will also have a lot more data and a lot more experiences to analyze and to build better experiences. It also means that, with the emphasis on robotics, that companies will have to look at hiring and upskilling of technicians, robotics technicians, data scientists, and fleet management expertise. The dilemma of smart things. So, our fourth topic. So the dilemma of smart things comes about that a lot of products these days that are being deployed isn't just a product that's on its own, it's on a showroom floor, it's sold, and there's minimal interaction from a company thereafter. A lot of the products that are sold today have a physical and a digital footprint. That digital footprint basically expands the services of the products and the experiences, and allows the business to bring new features and functionality to their customers as and when required. What it also means is that you have a continual update cycle of the software on that digital footprint. That means that companies will have to support that software and the hardware also that is running on. Take, for instance, a smart fridge, a refrigerator, where the fridge might work actually for 20 years, might actually keep products cold for 20 years or food cold for 20 years. But if you look at the touchscreen, it might get old very quickly, and it might not be able to be updated, and it might lead to actual risk and actually to security vulnerabilities and issues to the organization and to their customers. Okay, so organizations need to look at this with a longer term perspective now going forwards. They need to support their products and the transition from one generation to the next, and building a long-term relationship with their clients. This would actually be built on the customer's trust and the retention and the loyalty to them in the future. So companies will have to collaborate with their customers and communicate and be very transparent. Okay, this is essentially a fundamental rethink for organizations in how they develop, deliver, and support their products throughout the entire life cycle, and how they manage both the digital and the physical life of their devices. Last but not least, we looked at innovation DNA. So as you can see on the screen, executives ranked the following 5 biggest challenges that could be addressed. And there's quite a wide range of innovation opportunities out there, and companies need to take advantage of that through innovative strategies. The 3 ways that they could look at could address this is through maturing their digital technologies, through scientific advancements, and through emerging technologies like distributed ledger, AI, augmented reality, and quantum computing. Companies essentially need to build up a new innovation DNA. They must carefully look at what their risks and opportunities are in their market. They must design those capabilities, look at potential innovation up, and partner with other companies where they do have shortcomings. So the path forward is very interesting, and it might focus on the building blocks that you need to focus on the building blocks you need to build that innovation DNA. And that innovation DNA would be solely focused on technology and the role it will play throughout your company and to your customer. Just to recap again, the 5 trends that we have for the tech vision in 2020 again is the I and experience, the AI and me, the dilemma on smart things, robots in the wild, and innovation DNA. In essence, what we're saying with the 2020 Tech Vision is that every company is a digital company. Every company is also a technology company, and every CEO is a technology CEO. So, thank you very much. Jean?
Yeah, okay, thank you, Derek, for this also very interesting presentation. So a very interesting and good overview from all the technology trends, and seeing this from the perspective of a big company as Accenture, it's quite interesting, and yeah, steering the way on how the companies should adapt and adjust their businesses to seize and to take advantage of the opportunities that all these technologies are opening and for the future. So we will start now with the panel discussion. So we have received here in the question and answers one question at least. So George CQ Jr. is asking our first speaker, so Giuseppe, please. What are the typical cases for Comau voice recognition? So a very specific question. Thank you, George. Giuseppe, if you can give an idea on how Comau is tapping on top of this.
Hi everyone, once again. Thank you for your interesting question. It's my pleasure to reply. Let me say that, of course, it depends on the specific project, but if I understood correctly the question, let me say that we have developed a specific virtual assistant, which is a quite complex technology, which allows the operators to understand some procedure in a very easy and intuitive way, with pulling the name from the classical literature. We named the new product Virgil, and basically it works like an assistant, but it is, of course, everything is absolutely and completely digital. So the operators, maybe a new one in the assembly line where everything is strictly regulated and each process is absolutely has a lot of time constraint. It allows the person to interact with this digital assistant, and thanks to a mix between gesture and visual inputs, the digital assistant allows the operators to understand the right process, also if it is the first time in which the operator is working in the specific position of the assembly line, or in another in a brand new project and brand new line. So let me say, just to provide a quick reply, that of course we have different projects, but generally speaking, we have developed since around 1 year. We presented in a fair in Italy last let me say last fall, so probably 6 months ago. We have developed this very specific solution named Virgil, which allows also through gesture and voice inputs to interact among operators and the digital system. This is a concrete tool that we have developed.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Giuseppe. We are receiving more questions now. So one from Alex Pond that asks all the panel. Does the panel believe that businesses are willing to invest in these emerging technologies? Do they have an example of blockchain, voice, or AI that has generated increased revenues? So do you have your perspective on this? Maybe Jeroen or Derek, as Giuseppe already answered a specific example. This would be interesting to understand from the perspective of a big company, this perspective of investing in the technologies and how this translates into revenue.
So can I take a first stab, Jeroen?
Sure, go ahead, Derek.
Okay, so off the bat, I don't have an example in saying and calling out where a solution has generated directly revenue to a bottom line, but I think if you look at the overall trend, I think all customers at the moment are looking at, all companies at the moment are looking at how they can expand their channels to businesses and how they could employ AI in the background to improve your experience, but also then to open up different and more explorative channels. So like conversational AI, for instance. From personal experience, I would say 3-4 years ago, I would not have interacted with a chatbot or a conversational AI in any company's website and portal. But I think these days, the moment that you log onto any site, just about you see that there's a chatbot or a conversational AI or something actually that pops up, you can actually work with. And you can see that with back office work also, and that companies are looking to ways to improve how they do their business, but also what they actually do. And it is through these additional channels and through AI.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. We have also a question for Jeroen.
Can I react maybe on specifically on the blockchain?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the question was, are businesses investing in these kind of technologies? I mean, yes, for sure they are. Blockchain is a new technology still. Some companies find it difficult. That's why we are believing that you should take a lot of time and effort on adoption and awareness, which is basically our focus. At the same time, you see a lot of successful projects. You also see unsuccessful projects where you discover it's not the right solution, but you definitely see solutions that do work in logistics, specifically in the food sector of logistics. In the banking sector, you can see many examples. And also, if you look internationally, widely, also in the Far East, etc., even in China, there's many examples of blockchain adoption. So it's still relatively small, but there's still a huge amount of investment being done in that area, for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeroen. So we have two questions addressed to Jeroen. Okay. One, it's referring our project Diatomic, which is quite interesting. So from Corn de Jong, I hope I pronounce it correctly. From one of the Diatomic coaches received or learned that there was a workshop around blockchain business cases a while ago. The conclusion from the workshop was that blockchain is relatively expensive and that is in the near future, the only industry that could afford blockchain was the financial industry, as margin are relatively. Can you comment on this and perhaps share other business cases worked on where cost of running is also considered? So a relatively complex question, but I think the main point here is that okay, we have this technology, but it seems that it's too expensive to be adopted in other sectors other than financial industry, and maybe you can address this, and if you have other examples of other sectors where this could be adopted.
Yes, I think I just mentioned, of course, I wasn't at the workshop. I find it an interesting conclusion. I don't necessarily agree with it. I think what it is telling me is that is the message we want to spread is that you need to use the right technology in the right way, in the right place. And if you, I mean, blockchain is a more complicated way of organizing databases, but if you do it in the right place where you actually need that functionality, I mean, it's not more expensive than another way of organizing that. Absolutely not. But you need to be very careful You need to have the right use case, and there you need to apply it. And then I think cost is not the issue. That would be my message. And I'm convinced that it's not only in banking. It's definitely also in many other sectors, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So the second question that we have here, also directed to you. Why do you think computer-assisted development software vendors still hesitate in implementing blockchain technology and smart contracts in building information modeling solutions? So it's related with CAD software and BIM solutions.
That's specifically in the engineering sector, I guess, then?
Yes.
Yes, I understand. Well, I'm not sure they're hesitating. I think again, I'm just repeating the message. Like blockchain has a number of very specific characteristics, and one of the characteristic is that it doesn't make sense to make a blockchain just for your own organization. Blockchain is always about cooperating, about sharing data, about doing value transactions between organizations. So it does require a certain mindset of cooperation and willingness to look at processes across boundaries, across organizations, etc. That's when it comes to fruition. That's where you need to find the use cases. And I think there are also use cases to be found in engineering with CAD. But I think the current design of these systems, with the way they handle the databases, is probably not that easily linked to a blockchain. You need to have a different way of thinking around how you deal with data and who owns the data and how you share the data, etc. At the same time, I do quite a lot of work in the building sector, in the engineering sector. And I know if you look at it sector-wise, I was talking about productivity in my presentation. I know for sure that if you get to a model where you are, where you take sharing of data and cooperation as a mindset, there's an awful lot of productivity gains to be had in that particular sector. I think we're losing, and there's an awful lot of friction in that sector because we're not sharing the data with the right people at the right time in that particular sector.
Okay, thank you. So this last question was from Samir Lamesh. Okay, so just I forgot to mention the author, so to give credits to the question. Thank you. We have no more questions now in the question and answer, so maybe we can have our questions to the audience and make the final part of the panel discussion more interactive. So this will be coming back a little bit as a conclusion to this panel and to this plenary session. So after understanding all the information that was presented here, what is your feeling now that you have seen this information? What key enabling technology do you see as most promising at the short and mid-term to be applied in companies and as an answer to the Sustainable Development Goals and Green Deal? Yeah, so it seems quite clear here that AI and IoT appear at the top, and blockchain and cybersecurity as well. Well, cybersecurity, I guess it's one of those things that is transversal, right? So it's in any solution that involves AI, blockchain, or IoT, you need to be safe, right, and secure. So this is one of those aspects that it's transversal to all the other three, I guess. But yeah, I think yeah, AI and IoT, maybe because they are more familiar, the more familiar ones and the ones that are maturing for longer, it seems that they are winning. Okay, thank you. Let's jump to the next question, please. Yeah, so this is we will form a cloud, a word cloud with this one. So just type one word that you want to appear here as an answer for this. So, in your opinion, what is the greatest current challenge faced by your organization in deploying a technological solution based in these key enabling technologies? So, yeah, money. Okay, yeah, quite an important factor. Yes. So, skills, privacy. Okay, expertise. I guess expertise may be related with skills. Cultural, yeah, I guess this one is a very interesting one. And if we put it in the current days, we are assisting a very drastic cultural change in organizations and how they work in these times we face, where at least in the digital industry, a lot of work is happening from home. So yeah, so return of investment, cultural, money, knowledge, trust. Yeah, so expertise, training. Very interesting answers. Yeah, let's move to the next one. So this is a yes or no. Whoa, you are very fast answering this one. Do you feel there is a literacy gap with respect to key enabling technologies and their application to the real life problems? Yes. So it seems that right now it's a consensus. Okay, a little bit no appearing. Yeah. So this question is was put. It was placed here also to understand what is the generalized opinion about these key enabling technologies. So, for example, if we look into artificial intelligence and all the debate that is happening in the public domain and the the myths that are behind it and the way that this topic is being explained to the public in general, when compared to the experts, sometimes it's difficult to pass the message, and we understand quite clearly that there is still a literacy gap. And what do you think, Derek, Giuseppe, and Jeroen? Do you think the people should be more involved or more knowledgeable about these topics? So what is AI and robots and all of these things? It seems that a lot of people is scared on how these technologies will take out their jobs and substitute humans. What do you think? Do you think this is part to this literacy gap, or do you think that there is other factors that influence this?
Well, I think this is right. I think I talked about it in my presentation. I think it's both. I think there's a lot of new technologies around there, and it's quite hard simply for any human being to keep up with it and to understand what it all means for your work, for your family, for your person. It's quite daunting. And I think for anybody of us, it is. At the same time, that doesn't mean that it needs to translate into fear necessarily, but I think that has to do with the way we react also from a policy point of view to new technologies. Like I explained, if we do not explain people what will happen with their jobs after we have introduced that innovation, that new technology, if there's no perspective after that, if we are not able to show people what is coming after that and why we do it, then you create anxiety indeed. Mm-hmm. And that's why I did in my presentation, or in economics, we make that plea for, you need to think not just about innovation technology, you also as a society need to think about what you're going to do with the humans and as a society when you move into the next phase, right? Mm-hmm. What do you do with the people that lose their jobs? Is the advantage of the innovation going to higher profits for companies, or is it going to more taxes, or what are you going to do with it? Mm-hmm. Right? And if you give people a clear message around that,
Yeah.
then it becomes less daunting, less anxious, I think, for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
May I have a word
Yeah.
about
Yes.
that?
Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I understand it's a very sensitive topic, and it depends on the specific reality and basically on the specific company. From I can talk from our standpoint. We produce robots, also robots and many other technologies, but robots are a part of them. So you can imagine that we are involved, and me as responsible for communication, especially in this clash between human and against robots. From our standpoint, which once again I want to highlight is not the truth, but it is based on our experience. So, everything is the key word is transformation. So robots are in the assembly lines in the automotive industry since the 70s. Since the 70s, you can see in each production line of automotive hundreds of robots. We are talking about hundreds of robots, and so there's no news, and workers are still there. But what changed is the competencies, because we have now, for example, regarding our company, the new digital initiative platform, which is a completely new business line developed in each country. We have some, also in communication, we have some new professionals that 5 years ago I cannot imagine, not even imagine. So we really believe that there's a way for working together, human and robots, and robots, I mean machine and other technology with the word robots, and we call it human manufacturing. This is not just a claim, but we really believe that thanks to digital and many other technologies, for example, collaborative robots, which are completely different from the traditional robots because allows people to work with in safety with the robots. It is absolutely possible to work together in a very safe way. So I understand that it is a very sensitive topic, and I don't pretend to have the final word on that, but based on our experience, there's a way to work together.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So.
So just as a last thing for me, and I think the message was repeated a couple of times in the slides that I presented there, and it's I agree with Jeroen and Giuseppe. It's all about transparency, collaboration, and co-creation between enterprises and their customers and with machines. It's all about the collaboration, transparency, and the co-creation.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have one last question from this type, so the audience can. I think this is the last one. So again, word cloud. So what sector do you identify as most under-digitized and in need of adopting these key enabling technologies? So it would be, yeah, for some reason I was expecting this healthcare, and on top of the current context is quite obvious, I guess. But it's also interesting the many responses that we observed around Europe of the innovation community to help the current fighting the current situation. Not only from the digital technologies, a lot of digital applications for smartphones and computers and for appeared in a very short time. But also we had a lot of help from the manufacturing and maker community, as well as from the robotics. So this was a really intensive period for for all the innovation ecosystem and how it responds. But yes, I guess it's not a very big surprise that health and healthcare appear as the biggest words there. We have zoo there. It's an interesting word. So it actually, it's never crossed my mind about the zoology part. So agri-food, smart home, government, social, law, education and public, justice. Yeah, but of course I think the words that are in more more highlighted are quite prevalent now. So I think because of these changes, it's quite obvious, like health, education as well, because now a lot of kids and young people is having homeschool with the obvious impact that had also for their parents and working remotely. Justice also, yeah. Okay, very interesting answers. I think this was the last one. So we should be heading to the brokerage session, which should be started like 5 minutes ago, I guess. Sorry for that. But I think we had very interesting presentations and very interesting discussion with these interactive tools that allowed us to have a very direct interaction with the audience. I thank you, the three speakers, for your time and availability and the presentations that were excellent. I hope the audience liked these moments that we shared together. Let's hope that all this information contributed to be more aware and knowledgeable on how we can seize the opportunities that applying these advanced technologies have in different sectors. And let's head to the brokerage part. So I invite you all to stay tuned, and we will give 2 minutes each speaker to present themselves, and stay tuned to see if you find eventual potential partners that you would like to work with. And the first one is Tactify, Azadeh Aratian. I hope I mentioned correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's correct.
Okay, hello. You have 2 minutes to
Hello.
present yourself.
Yeah, I'm Azadeh. I have a PhD in cognitive science and a master in artificial intelligence. I have a startup in the Netherlands, Tactify, and there is, I mean, nurses and caregivers. They helps right now in this situation a lot. But you know, it's a very key question. It's they consume, or they take about 1 hour of their daily works for assigning I mean, checking the patients, and I mean, this assignment of a task, administration task, takes 1 hour daily for them. So we propose an intelligent planning tool to match this caregivers to the patients automatically based on skill levels and a distance and availability. Right now, they need to read all the details of the caregivers, and then all the details of the patients, every caregivers, and then check if they match with what's their skills. And even in some other European countries, social caregivers that they want to help others, even a normal task that there is no need for any skills. So it takes so many time. But the solution that we propose is a matchmaking and assigning the caregivers to the patients with the right skill level that they needed. So I'm looking for any healthcare organization that they want to pilot with us and check with us.
Okay, thank you, Azadeh. The next one. So yeah, the next one is Comau, Gianluca Pico is there. Well, but Comau was one of the speakers is from Comau. So Gianluca Pico, are you there? If not, maybe we can go to the next one.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me?
So, yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah. First of all, thanks for the invitation. I'm actually a colleague of Giuseppe, so nice to meet you. I'm representing Comau, so I would like to add a couple of additional information. Comau is a multinational company for automation solutions. So we are big companies, 9,000 employees and 1.5 billion turnover. And I'm Gianluca, and I'm a partner manager for Comau Robotics and automation product. So my activity is to develop and find new partners for the robotics and automation field, but in a kind of new way, because we are applying a win-win approach. That means that our partners can be both supplier and customer of Comau. Suppliers, because they can be, for example, subcontractors or partners for big projects that Comau is approaching, that are typically projects for OEMs, so car builders, that are kind of huge projects. But at the same time, they can be our customer, because we have plenty of very small partners and companies that are using our technology products for their own solutions, because we are providing high-end technology products like industrial robots or AGV or even exoskeletons for the industrial field. So what I'm looking for new partners in the automation sector that are ready to grow and to jump in this business, or to have a strong partner together that can be Comau, that can help them in addressing in a better way the new challenges of the market. So I'm very keen to be in contact with you, and my contacts, of course, are in the slide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gianluca. The next is City Gecko, and we have Goran here.
I don't think we have Goran here, but if you are here, please raise your hand so we can invite you to panelists. But I don't see him on the attendees list.
Okay, so
I'll give it a second.
One attendee is raising the hand, I think.
It's another one here.
Okay. So maybe we pass to the next one.
Yep.
Ok, so Soluções Biomédicas, Luís Neves. Hello? Do we have Luís Neves? Okay, yes. Hello, Luís. Please, you have 2 minutes, yes.
Yes. I don't think I'm gonna need to use the entire time, but my name is Luís Neves. I'm Portuguese. I'm a biomedical engineer, and I have more than 15 years of expertise conducting research in Portugal and also in the US. Right now, I'm working with the national and international companies, and I help the different startup companies achieve their goals. I've worked in projects related to nanotechnology in the implementation of novel therapies for cancer, eye disease, also bone implants, and most recently, I've been involved in AI projects as well, working with different companies. And I'm also involved in the Health Parliament Portugal. I'm working in the innovation and value in healthcare. So I'm basically looking for partners to collaborate with me in scientific and business projects in the field of healthcare innovation. So I'm more than happy to meet with anyone that's interested in learning more about what I do. And I'm also willing to learn about your challenges and try to overcome your limitations. Thank you for the time and good luck with your company.
Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Luis. So the next one is
Marta Passadouro.
Marta from University of Coimbra. Marta, hello.
But I think she's not here, but Marta, if you are, please raise your hand.
Maybe not. So the next one is our watch leads. So Owl. Do we have someone from Owl here?
Yes, we have Pedro Rezende.
Hello,
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, Pedro, hello.
Hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm presenting OWL, which stands for Our Watch Leads. We are a startup specializing in Earth observation satellite technology applied to the construction and real estate sectors. For making a small introduction, in the space sector, satellite Earth observation generates massive amounts of data, and many of which are pertinent for the construction and real estate markets. The European program Copernicus, for example, generates 4 terabytes of data per day, but less than 5% of the produced data are analyzed. And we are contributing to the assessment of this data by applying artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms to understand what are the interesting patterns to inform our target sectors. So in this sense, we are working with several layers of technology. And first of all, as I mentioned, we have remote sensing allowed by the satellite technology that produces Earth observation data. Then we go through artificial intelligence with deep learning and computer vision that helps us to detect patterns that are important for architects, engineers, builders, or real estate developers. And finally, we reach the software technology that is used in the construction sector, in which we prepare the satellite data to be read in georeferenced BIM and AutoCAD files. We are being incubated in IPN, in the Instituto Pedro Nunes in Coimbra, and we are being supported by the Portuguese government with the startup voucher program from YAPMEI. Right now we have very positive results with early adopters, and we are looking for more partners and more early adopters that can help us grow our idea, and maybe we can bring more sustainable options to the building sector. So I thank you for the opportunity, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. So our next one is Sally Kurtrajan. So
hi Sally, if you are here, please raise your hand because we don't see you on the attendees list. Maybe you are using another name, maybe just not here.
No, so we move to DST. Saverio Gravina, are you here?
I don't think so.
It seems not. George Siku, do you?
We have George with us.
From Baya, yes. I think we have. At least he asked one question some time ago. So.
Yes. Hi everyone.
Hi George.
Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yeah. You have 2 minutes. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm the R&D and Innovation Manager of Baya. I'm also working for the Polytechnic University of Bucharest, and we have good experience in telemetry. That means IoT and telecommunication networks. We developed a platform since many years. We started in '91. We are now around 100 people, and we are interested in the different use cases for IoT and also different technologies. For example, using also artificial intelligence to process the data, also using the blockchain. And recently we have been also working on quantum encryption and quantum key distribution for securing this kind of IoT networks. We have also a team that is doing sales, and we sell these solutions usually to telecom operators such as Orange, Vodafone, Deutsche Telekom. We also work on different other research topics. So currently we are running around 20 R&D projects. So we are looking especially for companies or research institutes or universities to work together in R&D projects, not only in Horizon, but maybe also in smaller bottom-up programs like Eureka, Eurostars, or Eranet.
Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you, João.
Do we have the next one? No, so George was the last one. Yeah, so this brings us to the conclusion of the brokerage part and the entire session. So we still have two other events happening during this week before we close the Coimbra Sustainability Summit webinar cycle. So the next session will be on the 27th of May. At the same time, this panel took place. So this will be a series of parallel sessions depending on the sector. So we will be covering health, agri-food, manufacturing, and sustainable cities. So these are the four sectors that the entire summit is covering. And this is being connected to the previous session that we had Friday, where we invited the speakers from the payers, the end users, and the policymakers' perspective. So they were bringing us the perspective from the needs part. And this week, because we started this panel taking a view on the technology and the investment aspects, the speakers that will be involved in the sessions on the 27th will be also going into the specific sectors and covering what technologies are developing for the different sectors, how they are being deployed, and how they are addressing the Sustainable Development Goals and the Green Deal. So, and to finalize the cycle of webinars, we will close on the 29th with a session related with the public policies and funding. In the funding, we will include the participation of some speakers from the European Commission, as well from some projects that have open calls opportunities available for submitting proposals. So I invite you to participate in the next two sessions, and I hope you enjoy this session of today. I hope you stay healthy and safe at home. So yeah, please visit the website for stay tuned with the news on the summit throughout this week. And also I invite you to go to each of the 4 projects that are organizing this Coimbra Sustainability Summit. and I wish you good return work. So have a nice day, and we will close the session here. Bye bye.